Hi, everyone. We have Andi Jarvis with us today. His topic is Better Together, how sales and marketing can work together to make everyone's life easier. And a little bit about Andi is that he's a founder and strategy director of Eximo Marketing, a marketing strategy consultancy based in Belfast and Liverpool. Eximo Marketing primarily works with established manufacturers who want to grow their business via direct to consumer. And he also hosts the Strategy Sessions podcast, a show that interviews some of the best marketers in the world. He holds an MSc in marketing and Marketing Week mini MBA in marketing. He also runs a fundraising project, Eximo and Friends, with Bernardo's, where marketers volunteer to provide consultations to small businesses in return for a donation to support refugees. You should also know that Andi likes to talk at length. His barbecue, rugby league, boxing, and cricket. And now I leave the floor, Andi, to you.
Decided I was going to stand up for this presentation rather than sit down. And now I'm like, all right, okay, was this a good move? But here we are. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I am going to talk about, look, better together, how sales and marketing can work together to make everyone's life better. But to do that, I'm going to start by taking you back a long way. I'm going to take you back to ancient Greece, and I want you to think back about the history of storytelling. The Greeks pretty much invented storytelling as we know it today. They loved nothing more than to tell stories that would keep crowds entertained. And the way they kept them entertained was telling stories of this versus that, right? They always had good versus evil, or a love story versus somebody else trying to steal the love interest. And this versus that was the mechanic that the Greeks loved. Now, that kind of storytelling mythology runs through almost every culture and every history in the world. I know we have people from all around the world joining us today, and you've probably got something similar in your own local storytelling history. So in the Bible, we have David versus Goliath, the great epic of the small man against the massive giant. In Norse mythology, from the Nordic countries, they have Odin, who in English Wednesday is named after. And Odin was the guardian of heaven and hell. He used to stand there between and help soldiers who were killed in battle decide if they were going to go to heaven or hell. This versus that. If you go across the world to Barbadian mythology, they have the story of Heartman. Now, Heartman is a real bad man. He's the kind of the bogeyman, if you will. The story parents would tell their children: if you don't go to sleep tonight, Heartman is going to come and carve out your heart and feed it to the devil. Heartman worked for the devil, feeding hearts to the devil so he could stay alive. What a great story, and what a way to make your children go to sleep. But we've always loved this versus that, and heaven versus hell. And we've brought that mythology and that storytelling into a modern era. We've got Star Trek versus Star Wars. I mean, look, if you're a Star Trek fan and you think it's better than Star Wars, you're wrong. But that's okay, because we have this. There's a more important cultural phenomenon, which we had in the 90s and noughties, which was Britney versus Christina. Who was the best? Who was the most important? And then probably the peak of all cultural this versus that is cats versus dogs, which is, you know, you could pay your money, you take your choice, but it's always one or the other. It's never both, right? Now, until social media, we never knew actually which was better, cats or dogs. But then Twitter came along and we could add science to it. And you find out that cats are actually better than dogs because they have 275 tweets per hour versus 238. But then Instagram came along, and apparently there's more pictures of dogs and cats. But we're not here to talk about dogs and cats or Instagram and Twitter. We're here to talk about the great battle that takes place around the world in B2B organizations everywhere we go. It's the great battle of sales versus marketing. And it's a punch-up. It's a fight. It's a war for the ages. And I'm going to explain why it happens, and I'm going to explain what you can do about it to make everything better together. Now, I'm just going to build on my introduction there and talk about my favorite subject, which is me. I'm going to talk about myself. I am a marketing strategist, right? I feel like, to use the English phrase, I feel like what is it? A wolf in the hen's house, or a fox in the hen's house. Sorry. I feel like I'm at a sales and prospecting and outreach event, but I'm a marketer. What am I doing here? Well, I'm here because I think we can make the world better. Eximo Marketing, we're based in Liverpool, where I am now, and Belfast, we have a location there. We work across Europe, mainly in the UK and Ireland, but we've worked with clients in the Nordic countries and a few other places as well. Speaking of the Nordic countries, I have a digital marketing strategy course with the University of Vasa. It is they're one of Finland's best universities. It's all in English, all entirely online, and you can find it. Just search for it, you'll find it. And I also have a podcast, which was mentioned before. That's why I have the microphone, and it's called The Strategy Sessions. I interview a lot of marketers from around the world, basically to pick their brains. It's not one of those prospecting podcasts I know someone was talking about earlier on, where it's about getting leads on and getting them comfortable with you. That's not what I'm trying to do with this one. This is about me learning from these experts, and it's about sharing that knowledge with a wider audience as well. I'm going to come back to the podcast in just a second. If you want to connect, I'm on social media, Twitter and LinkedIn, probably the best place to find me. Well, Twitter, do it quickly, right? Because it might not exist in another couple of years. Or a couple of months even. Instagram if you want, or if you scan that QR code, you can join my mailing list. I'll send you the podcast and a few other bits just once a week. No spam, none of that nonsense. That slide comes back up at the end. So if you didn't get any of that detail, don't worry, it comes back later. Last one about the podcast, and there is a reason why I'm not just selling the podcast here. So I interview marketers, as I say, from different countries, from different companies, and pick their brains about what great marketing looks like and what the strategy is behind it. You can find it all at eximomarketingstrategy.com/podcast. But this episode with this guy called Mark Ritson is the most popular episode of the podcast that I've done so far. It's the leading episode probably with about 10 times more listens than any other show that I've done. It's just been huge, absolutely huge. Mark Ritson is a marketing professor. He has a column in Marketing Week, and he runs the mini MBA. And I talked to Mark about lots of things. One of the things he said during that interview when I spoke to him was sales and marketing we were talking about. And he said, sales and marketing, they're the same thing, just separated by time. I love that. I'd never quite been able to understand it, but I love that quote, right? We're trying to do the same thing, but the time frame that we do it over is a bit different, right? And when you start to think of it in those terms, when you start to think of it, it's not that marketing's job is sales support or sales job's more important than marketing. We're both trying to do the same thing. We're just doing it over a different time horizon. Now, keep that in mind while I talk to you about what the problems are that we have. So this is all based on my experience of working with B2B organizations. These are things that I've observed, that have been said to me, that I've heard when I've been involved in sales and marketing conversations. So, first of all, here's things that I hear marketing say. So sometimes you talk to marketing teams and you're like, right, okay, what's the target? What's the financial target that we need to hit? And you go, oh, Andy, we don't own the target. You see, we don't run the last lap, or, we can't own that financial target because sales have to do their thing. So we don't want anything to do with the target. Yeah, but we're trying to sell stuff for the organization. We just do the first bit. It's up to them to do it. We can't own that, so we don't want to own the target. Marketers are very reluctant to own a financial target, pounds, dollars, euros, whatever, right? They don't want to own that target. It kind of unhooks them from responsibility when stuff doesn't work. So they're more than happy just to say, it's got nothing to do with us. No, look, don't worry. But if you're not on the hook for the target, it makes you a bit of an easy sitting duck, really, for sales to have a go at, and for you not to quite be focused on the same things as everybody else. The problem with sales, though, is sometimes the sales team, who are brilliant often at what they do in terms of selling stuff, want to own the whole customer journey. I'm bored of hearing sales teams come up to me and go, I'm going to rewrite this web copy for you, Andy. I'm like, why? Oh, well, because I think it can be improved. It's like, you think? That's lovely. Thank you. We've got stats that show it's working. So why do you think you know better? Sales teams want to own everything. They think that if there's ever a problem with the sales process, if they're not selling enough, it's never down to their shortfall. It's always down to those marketing scumbags not doing what they need to do, or the website being wrong, or the funnel not working correctly, or the wrong messaging on the website, or the stand not being right. They want to own everything. They want to do everything. Problem is, sales teams, pretty good ones, are usually quite highly paid resources. And the last thing you want your most highly paid resource doing is getting in the way of somebody else's job when they should be out there doing their job, right? So sales teams always want to own much more of the role than they should. Marketers are frustrated by a lack of credibility in the organization. and effectively being relegated to being a sales support function. Now, one of the things I look at, and when I talk to companies about this, is that actually this is just a function of the thing above there. You don't want to own a target. You'll end up being subservient to somebody who does. So you go, well, there's no senior marketing person on the board. Well, that's true, because you don't want to own a target. Or we're now just a sales support function. So that is true, because they've got a target and they just want everything that will support them. But it does cause a lack of credibility. And if all you ever do is ask your marketing team just to do exactly what sales want, you only end up with more and more junior marketers in a marketing function that doesn't really work anyway. Sales teams, oh, my absolute favorite, be still my beating heart, right? Sales teams don't want to update the CRM, just in case anyone takes my customers. They'll go out and they'll sell, they'll talk to people, they'll do everything that they can, but will they update Salesforce? No. What if somebody else looks at what I'm doing? Why would I update that? And, their sales information is on bits of paper, Post-it notes, little black book, their own Filofax, whatever that is, they keep hold of it. It's not in the CRM system because they don't want to share that information because that affects their commission. And you're like, lads, come on, this isn't how this works. And then marketers back to thinking, look, everything would be better in this organization if you just leave the marketing to the marketers. Finance wants to tell us that they don't like the website. Sales wants to tell us they don't like the website. Operations want to tell us they don't like the website. I don't go around telling them their delivery proposition's terrible. I don't go around telling the sales team how to do their job. So why is everyone telling me how to do my job in marketing? Leave me alone to do marketing. Marketing will be much better. I hear it all the time. And I hear sales teams going, if marketing just did what we told them, everything would be much better, right? And you've got this mentality of the two disciplines at war because they have grumbles and gripes and things that they just don't want to do. And these are things now that actual quotes people have said to me. Sales say, we make the money, marketing spends the money. Right? I heard it. Last week, we sold 3 of these things that brought in £250,000 worth of revenue. What did marketing do? They went to that trade show. They put that thing up. They put that advert that I didn't like in that magazine that nobody reads. And they spent all this money. How much did that cost? £50,000? £20,000? Wasting all the money that we make. And now you're telling me that my commission's not enough. Not good enough, right? So you hear sales that say all the time. Marketing, they respond, go, yeah, but we generate leads that we give to you, but you don't convert them. Right? We're doing this activity because it generates leads. We did that sales show because people turned up at the show. They gave us the details. We put it into the CRM and then we passed it through and we gave it to you and you got a marketing qualified lead. And then what? You don't convert it. What does sales say to that? Well, it's because she's sending us terrible leads. These leads are rubbish. They're poor quality. I'm not wasting my time. I rang one of them. They said he'd never heard of us. I rang another one and she said, I'm not interested in buying your product. I rang a third one and they'd never answered. So I tried 3. I'm not ringing anymore. Your leads are rubbish. It's terrible. That's what you get back. The marketing responds, but you never give us any useful feedback on lead quality. We've been asking for this information. We've been looking on Salesforce. We've been looking in the CRM system. There's no information. There's nothing that says that person didn't answer. They're not ready to buy. We're too expensive. You're not giving us anything. You don't send us any information. You'll never tell us anything. It's just a battle that goes on and on. And the sales team are like, well, you don't care. We're focused on commission, right? We want to hit our commission targets because we need to do that. You don't care. You're not commissioned. You have no target. You shut up and just let us do our job. And the marketing team sit there and they're like, no. All you are focused on is commission. It's all you're interested in. Hit commission, commission, commission. You don't get involved in organizational stuff. You don't get involved in CSR opportunities. You won't come to a trade show sometimes because you don't think it's worth it. You won't write a blog for the website because it's not commission based. You won't. Right. Let's stop. Let's just stop and you can read what Maximus said for a moment. Maximus wasn't talking about slaves fighting gladiators, right? He was talking about marketing versus sales. If you rewatch the film Gladiator, you'll understand that actually it's just a story of sales versus marketing. That's all it is, right? Whatever comes out of these gates, we have a better chance of survival if we just work together. Do you understand? If we stay together, we survive. And actually, I'd probably say if you stay together, you thrive. So let's listen to Maximus, right? One of the greatest characters in film history. If he knew I know, then we all should know. So here's what the solution is, in my opinion. First of all, you've got to get alignment between marketing and sales, right? I am going to come off and just talk you through these next slides, right? I've had enough of talking you through slides. Marketing versus sales. So you've got to get the alignment better for the two disciplines. How do you get the alignment better? Well, you do it quite simply by using strategy, right? You have to have a strategy for marketing, and you have to have a strategy for sales. And if you don't have that, then there's no way that you can get your organizations working together. So what does that mean, right? What are you actually looking for in a strategy? So if you're in marketing, your strategy should be developed with the sales team, right? Quite simple. You're looking to answer 3 questions. Who are you targeting? Why are they going to buy from you? And what your objectives are for the year. Now, if the sales strategy doesn't have the same people who you're targeting, or the sales strategy doesn't have the same reasons why they're going to buy from you, you need to stop. And you all need to get together and work that out. Because if you're on the same page there, then you're going to be on the same page everywhere else. Targeting the same customers, the same people. Targeting, giving them the same reasons why they're going to buy. So let's look at that. If you're not targeting the right people with your marketing activity that the sales team are going after, you are just wasting time, energy, and resource for everyone, right? So when you do your marketing strategy, bring the sales team in, make sure they're on the same page. When you're doing your sales strategy, make sure that your marketing team are involved in that too. When I say sales strategy, I don't write them, right? I write marketing strategies for clients. But sales strategies are often done at really individual levels. Individual salespeople write in their own sales strategies. I find that weird, right? I don't know why operations don't have an overarching one. Get one, right? Because it will put everyone on the same page. Why are they going to buy from you? There is no point marketing, writing website pages, brochures, trade stands, anything that comes out of marketing, talking about the reason people buy a product is A, B, and C. And when the sales team go out to sell, they talk about X, Y, and Z, right? It happens all the time. Get alignment on those 2 things as well. Understand what each of you are going to talk about, and then set your objectives. Now, marketing's objectives are probably going to be different to sales objectives, and that's fine, as long as you're all going for the same overarching goal, which should spin out of the corporate objectives. Is it revenue? Is it customer numbers? Is it ARR, MRR? Whatever it is that your organization talks about, that should inform what you do. So if your objective is marketing qualified leads, how many qualified leads do you need that will lead to X number of customers that will help you hit the group revenue target that you've been set from on high? That's the sort of thing you should be looking at. And there's one other thing in a marketing strategy that you need to have is what's the main challenge that you need to solve right now, right? The main challenge you need to solve. You talk to your sales team is a great place to start because they'll say things like, when we go to trade shows, nobody's ever heard of us, right? You'll hear things like that. Or you'll maybe hear things like, people know us, but they don't know what our product does. These are great things for marketers to hear. You can go and research them further. Never just believe your sales team, but use that as the starting point for your research. Find out what the problem is. Is it an awareness problem? Is it a consideration problem? Is it a conversion problem? Once you know which problem it is you're solving, that can then inform your information again. So build that into your strategy. The next thing you want to have is honesty, right? Honesty between the 2 disciplines, honesty between the 2 teams. You need that accountability of people filling in the CRM system. You need that information flow backwards and forwards. You need sometimes to put your hands up and go, do you know what? That didn't work, right? Admitting a mistake builds trust and credibility with the people. And especially if you can follow it up with, and here's how I'm going to fix it, or here's what we're going to do next time, right? So have an honest relationship, exchange that information. Sales teams can't hold on to this and go, well, I'm not filling it in. Because if you're not feeding that information back up, you can't do the next thing that I'm going to say, right? Which is iterate. Marketing plans, and I can talk about them more than I can talk about sales plans, are never 100% perfect when they're launched, ever, right? So you have to be able to iterate. The only way you can iterate in a marketing plan is if you get the right information to make that decision so that you can flip between what you've done, improve it, what you've done, improve it. You can't make a decision on the success of a campaign if there is no information to tell you how successful it is. That is just guesswork. And if you want to do guesswork, that's brilliant, but it is a complete and utter waste of money, right? You're just ruining your options. So you need that information so you can iterate. because we're all after the same goal, right? We're testing and learning, we're improving. We've got to eat while we dream. We've got to sell stuff for the organization while we dream of doing bigger and better things. So what we want to do next, we've got to talk. Honesty is about information flow. Talking is about how you do it. Sales teams, depends on your organization, right? Sales teams are often out on the road all day, every day. In some organizations, they're not even in the same country as the marketing team. So what do? We send emails. We have conference calls. We do Zoom calls like this. We have Slack messages or Teams messages or WhatsApp groups, and we send all these messages, and the illusion that communication has taken place is strong. Oh, Andy read that message. Did he? Andy, there's a tick that says Andy looked at the message. Did he do that while he was drinking a coffee? Did he do that while he was talking to someone? Has he just left his phone open? It's an illusion that has taken place. You need to talk. Marketers need to go and spend a week with the sales team. They need to get out. Look, I worked with sales teams who spend all day on the road. They leave on a Monday morning and they'll go somewhere. They'll have calls along the way. They'll stay overnight somewhere. They'll have more calls the next day, stay overnight, and they'll finally get home 2 or 3 days later. They're tired. They're grumpy. They've maybe had a good day, maybe have a bad day. They see you in marketing, sat in your office, assing around and go, what are you doing when I've been slogging myself around doing 2,000 miles in 3 days? Right? Go and spend a day with them, understand their problems, listen to what the customer says to them, hear what their sales pitch is. All of that influences it, but it also gives you a chance to talk. The number of times I've sent sales teams, should we just go for a coffee? Do you want to have a beer? And you hear what they have to say. This stuff is like truth serum, right? So you ask someone to go for a coffee or go for a beer with you, they tell you the truth, right? So do that with them. Go and talk to them. The solution to the problem, as I see it, is you need a strategy, first of all. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? That's what you're after, a strategy. Who's going to buy from you? Why are they going to buy from you? And what are your objectives for the year? You need honesty between the two disciplines. You need that information flowing. You need the CRM, the Salesforce, whatever, updated all of the time. You need to be able to iterate. You need to be able to change what plan you've got. And then you need to be able to talk between each other. So, and then once you do that, you've got strategy, honesty. Oh no, shit. I see what I've done there. Let me make a quick change. Let's forget about talking, right? Let's just take talk out for the minute, and we'll maybe change that T to a P. Let's call it process instead, because nobody needs to be going back to their organization and saying, I know how we can make marketing and sales better. Shit. Don't do that. Even if your English isn't your first language, you know this isn't a good thing. Too many organizational processes get in the way of sales and marketing alignment. I'll give you one example from a company I work with. I think they're watching, so hello if you are. I'm not going to name any names. The marketing team has a KPI for something which is important to the marketing plan, and they have to deliver this every month. It relies on one of the sales teams being part of that process, but the sales team's KPI is every quarter. So the marketing team every month has to deliver something and gets kicked and kicked and kicked if they don't deliver it. But the sales team only has to deliver 3 a quarter. So in month 1, they don't do anything. In month 2, they don't do anything. In month 3, they deliver 3 and go, well, our work's done. We've hit our target. It's a very small example of an operational process that doesn't align with helping your sales and marketing teams align, right? I've got other examples. I used to work in a place, it was a digital agency. We used to get a check paid to give us our expenses back. Right? Because it worked for finance. And if commission as well was paid by check, which is lovely. We were a digital agency. I was out on the road all the time. If I ever got commission, it sat on my desk for a week while I was going over my credit card bill because I hadn't paid my bill off. Processes that don't align. You'd be amazed when you start to look at it. And the only way to do this is to talk to the people involved and say, listen, what are the processes that are helping us get to where we want to do? And what are the processes that are hindering us? Moving operational processes is big and difficult, especially in bigger organizations. But if you can put a process together that helps people perform, then you will be absolutely flying. So let's put that together now. Let's see, now we've made a change. You've got strategy, honesty, and that includes talking, iteration, and process. Because if you put them together, as I said, I'm in Liverpool at the minute where the business is based. And some things are just better together. You put Lennon together with McCartney, and all of a sudden you find the greatest band that the world has ever seen. Some things are just better together, and that's marketing and sales. Because when we play together nicely, great things happen. If you want to get in touch, I'm Andy Jarvis. Thank you very much for listening. You can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn, Andy Jarvis with an I, or on Jarvis Andy on Instagram, or scan that and you can join my mailing list and I'll send you some stuff. Dancho.
I'm here. I should have put you to talk the last, because after that, now I need to talk and it would be really awkward.
Sorry about that, mate.
Yeah, well, Andy, I do have a question for you, actually.
Let's go.
Is how often do you see a company with an executive responsible for both teams, marketing and sales? And the follow-up, is it by default better performing company because it's one executive covering both departments? No, right?
So you would think that, right? You would think that so the first thing about it is anyone who is called a sales and marketing, whatever, director, head of, executive, anyone who has sales and marketing in their title is a salesperson, right? They just are. And I've never, ever in 20 years of doing this been anywhere where the sales and marketing person, one name in the title, is not just a salesperson, right? If you put those two functions together, marketing becomes sales support. And what that means is in B2B organizations, they just order brochures, turn up at trade shows, update the website and put some posts out on social media. That is part of marketing, but it's not everything that we need to be doing. It's not lead generation. It's not brand building. It's not helping the organization get better. If you put a sales and marketing person on the board, what happens is their focus is sales. Because it has to be, because short-term sales numbers have to be hit to keep the lights on in the organization or we're all out of a job. Longer-term thinking just goes out of the window because they don't have time. So sales and marketing, I would say, have them separate and but what tends to happen then is that you just don't have marketing representation on the board until you get to a certain size. Typically, I would say companies tend to be over 50 people before they end up with anyone serious about marketing on the board. I don't mind so much because it gives me a job. I end up doing a lot of work with companies like that. But the sooner you can get a marketing voice on the board that wants to own a target, be involved in it and be there and numbers and all that sort of stuff, the better it'll be.
Got it. And one last question, Andy. You said there should be a strategy to align the marketing and sales department. From experience, how long does it take to build that kind of strategy that they are on the same side rather than complaining against each other?
Right. Not as long as you think. So most people think that if you're writing a marketing strategy or doing something like that, it's going to be this big process that takes 3 months and you have to go off-site and spend days away at a retreat and do all of this stuff, right? You don't. I genuinely believe, and I believe it so much, I can see you're promoting your book behind you. If you just shift your right shoulder, let's have a look. Sweet leads. I'm in the middle of writing a book called The 20-Minute Marketing Strategy, right? Now, I say in the middle of it, I've been writing it for 2 years and it hasn't moved on yet, but I'm in the middle of it. If you've got the right information, you can write a marketing strategy in 20 minutes. Who are you targeting? Why are they going to buy from you? What's the main problem you're solving this year? And what are your objectives? If you can put all of that on a piece of paper, right, you can have more information. You can put a load more stuff in. Yeah. But for most businesses, if you've got that, and you go and talk to the sales team and you say, right, we're both targeting the same customers this year. And we want to talk to consultants in Ireland who are over a certain size. And the sales team are like, yeah, we want to do that too. Great. Why are they going to buy from us? Well, they'll buy our services because we've worked with ABC consultants. They'll buy our services because the pricing model means they don't have to pay unless they win any business. And they buy us. What do you tell them? Oh, we tell them the same stuff. You're both aligned on the same page. If you get those few things right at the start, you are 80% of the way there to aligning everything else.
Perfect.
And Jenny, this isn't just to be clear, this isn't a sales pitch, right? I put my details up earlier, and if you missed them, just look for Andy Jarvis with an I, you'll find me, right? If you're struggling with this sort of thing, drop me a message. I'm happy to kind of do little bits of help over LinkedIn or on Twitter or whatever. Just look, this is a problem we've got. Say, have you tried A, B, and C? I'm happy to help. Get in touch, please.
Thank you, Andy. I don't have any more questions. So, Monica.
Thank you, Andy. From my side as well, I read Dancho's book and it's amazing. I recommend it. And I can't wait to see your book, Andy, as well.
Are you on commission for Dancho's book?
Oh, but I should ask for that. Thanks for mentioning.